You know something is broken. You don't want to be touched. You don't want to be intimate. In fact, some nights you don't even want them in the same room. You've just shut the door on that, and you don't fully know why. Well, one root, one reason. You no longer feel safe, and you can't trust someone or be close to someone that you don't feel safe with. No matter how hard you try, no matter how long you've been married, no matter how much you love them. You know, in over 30 years of working with couples, what I don't hear is we fight about parenting, we fight about money, we fight about in-laws. No, the number one issue that I hear is we love each other, but we don't feel close anymore. And underneath that, almost without exception, is a loss of emotional safety. And then right behind that, a loss of physical intimacy. And in marriage, those aren't separate issues. They are the same issue wearing different faces. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Emotional safety is this deep cellular knowing that I can bring my real self to you and it's safe. You're not going to use the things that I share, my deepest worries, concerns, fears, mistakes. You're not going to use them against me, or you're not going to make fun of me or dismiss them or, act like you don't care. You're not going to weaponize them against me at some point down the road. That is what emotional safety is. Knowing that you accept me as I am. You don't just put up with me. That you see me and you love me as I am, not who I could be. And real physical intimacy, not just the mechanical act of sex, requires that same level of safety. Because to be that physically intimate, you have to be completely vulnerable, completely exposed. And there's no way your nervous system is going to allow you to be that vulnerable with someone you don't trust. That's not a failure on your part. That's basic human wiring. When emotional safety erodes, and it does so very slowly, one hurt at a time, the body puts up walls, even if you don't realize that's what's happening. And this person that you're married to, that you still love, is now someone you can't quite let in anymore. The physical distance that follows then is not a symptom of a bad marriage. It's a symptom of an unsafe one. Your brain has one primary job. It's not to keep you happy. It's not connection. It's to keep you safe. So your brain is always scanning your environment, including your marriage, for perceived threat. And when it senses it, it goes on full alert and it activates, right? To protect you. So the walls come up. Now, in a physically dangerous situation, that can be life-saving for you. But in a marriage, that's damaging. In a marriage, most of the threats that you experience are not physically dangerous. They are emotional threats. The contempt, the dismissiveness, the sarcasm, the being shut down, the being shut out. All of those hurts activate your nervous system in the same way as something that is life-threatening. And over time, your nervous system decides, because of those chronic hurts, chronic disappointments, this person isn't safe, and it stops letting them in. And when that happens, your body follows. Touch starts to feel like an intrusion, not a comfort. Sex feels like an obligation, not something that's deeply bonding. And you might start to wonder what happened to the passion we used to have, not realizing that that passion was never just physical. It was always emotional first. And that's how God designed it. He designed sex to be the fullest expression of two people who are deeply, completely known and accepted by each other. Fantastic when it's working well, so painful when it's not. I want you to imagine that it's Sunday night. The kids are in bed, the house is quiet, and your spouse reaches for you just a little, and you recoil. Not a lot, but enough for them to notice, and they pull back. And you both pretend it didn't happen, but it did, and it's happened before. Now I want you to flash forward and you're laying in bed, room's dark, your backs are to each other, nobody's saying anything, and you're lying there thinking two things. The longing to be close to your spouse again and having no idea how to get there. What's happened to create this distance between the two of you? A betrayal? Or just years of feeling dismissed, criticized, not seen? Or maybe the two of you have just drifted slowly apart without noticing to where it's just feels normal now. Now imagine the same moment, but from the other side. You're the one reaching for your spouse. You're the one feeling them pull away just slightly. And you tell yourself the same story that you always tell yourself. They don't want me. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. So you stop reaching a little bit at a time until finally you're not reaching at all. And that silence in that bedroom, it's not peaceful. It's the silence of two people who've stopped trying to find each other. You know, this is far more common in marriage than people want to admit out loud. It's not comfortable to say, this is where my marriage is. And especially in a faith community where the pressure to appear whole is enormous. But you are not alone. This is very common. And it doesn't have to be the rest of your story. But you have to build back emotional safety before you can build back physical intimacy. That's just the way it is. Your body's never going to respond until your brain says it's safe to do that. A lot of couples get this mixed up. They think if we can just go back to having a great sex life, then everything else will fall in line. No, it doesn't work that way. You can't trick the body. You can go through the motions. You can do that, but you're both going to feel the difference. There's a huge difference between going through the motions and the mechanics of sex versus I am being fully open and vulnerable with you, and we feel deeply connected through sex. So the work starts emotionally. It starts with you making the effort to see that your spouse is trying, to let go of the need or the urge to criticize them, to hold on to the past, and to acknowledge, no matter how imperfect it is, their effort to change. You got to really major in the minors here, especially if it's been going on for years. So what is your spouse doing, as small as it may seem, that can be praised, that can be acknowledged? Because this is how each other's nervous system starts to relax. This is how you teach each other, you don't think the worst of me. You're giving me the benefit of the doubt. You're letting yourself build trust in me again, moment by moment, day by day. And no, doing this work it's not romantic. It's not always fun. It's certainly not big and dramatic, but it is foundational to your marriage. Everything else, including sex, gets built on this foundation. Now, the other thing you have to do is you have to talk about what's going on here. Okay. This is a giant elephant in the room that's growing bigger day by day because you're not addressing it. So you have to say to your spouse, I don't like the fact that we aren't physically intimate anymore. I don't like the fact that I keep pulling away from you or that you keep pulling away from me. I miss us. I miss the passion that we used to have. You gotta be able to put a name to what you see is happening. It's so much easier for your spouse to hear it when you say it that way because there's no blame in that. There's no accusation. You're just simply talking about how you feel. And so now you've given your spouse an invitation, an open door that they can walk through for the two of you to have a real conversation. That's just a starting place. That one conversation isn't going to fix everything, but it begins the process of moving you in a new direction. The other thing you have to do is you have to rebuild touch outside of the bedroom. This one really, really matters because touch has become associated with threat, right? That's why you or your spouse don't want it. So you have to take the pressure away from that. You got to touch each other in non-sexual ways that don't give you or your spouse the perceived threat of what do they want? They want more. This is going to lead somewhere. And then you or they shut down, right? So something simple like holding hands, sitting next to each other when you're watching TV, putting your hand on each other's back, scratching each other's backs. Really simple things that allow the nervous system to just go, okay, nothing else is coming. They're not going to expect me to do anything more. And that relaxation over time helps to build that sense of emotional safety. I know that seems almost too simple, but I've seen many marriages thaw from just doing this because Your nervous system responds to safe touch in the same way that it responds to feeling emotionally safe. It slowly, gradually begins to open back up again. Look, if this is where your marriage is at, if you have lost both a sense of emotional safety and physical intimacy in your marriage, please don't think that that's it. There's no hope, that the only solutions to you are just to endure through that or to get a divorce, or even worse, have an affair. That's not the answer. The answer is to reach out to me and let's schedule your free private marriage assessment. This is an hour-long conversation about what's going on in your marriage and how you got there and what options you have for changing this. Because there are many things that we can do rather quickly to begin turning this around for you. You just simply go to debbiecottle.com/marriage in bloom. Click on the link for my free private marriage assessment, and I'll see you there. And look, I got a whole library of videos that talk about this very subject, emotional safety, emotional disconnection, many other topics for faith-based couples, for how to understand the patterns going on in their marriage and how to change them. So please go check those out. Links are in the description below.